Golden Eagles bats go quiet, fall short of Omaha. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm Dave Schultz. Didn't quite make it last night as Baton Rouge Regional went late. I'm old, so gave it until it was 4-0, and obviously Southern Miss falls short 5-0, losing to the Vols. Obviously disappointing. Bats went quiet. Boy, Nico Mazza battled, and hat tip to Scott Barry on today's edition of Locked On Sunbelt. So let's recap the Super Regional. And again, as somebody who's been here in Lafayette and, always the Cajuns always think they're the underdog, when one thing kind of changes, you kind of feel like it's heading in the wrong direction. And that didn't hit for Southern Miss until the 4-0 lead with Tanner Hall, right? I'm sure Southern Miss fans, as we mentioned in the last episode, when they won, when it was delayed on Saturday, 4-0, we're rolling. Let's keep going. You don't want to stop. And then you come back and Tennessee, takes advantage and scores 3 runs, but Southern Miss came back with 1 run, and it was a 5-3 victory. And you're feeling pretty good. And then you get off to an amazing start, like 4-0 over Tennessee. And it starts to hit you that they're going to do this. Oh, my God. They're not only are they going to beat Tennessee, but they're going to Omaha, and it fell apart fast. Tanner Hall has never been hit like that, like he was. The bats went absolutely quiet, not scoring any runs in the last game and a half. And basically that's the story. It's not as if they didn't have chances on Monday. And we can talk about the weather and the delays. It wasn't only in Hattiesburg, right? They did it in Baton Rouge. Could have started games early. I don't know if you want to start a game on a Monday at 11. I'm sure there would have been Southern Miss fans, maybe not quite as much if that was the case. But nonetheless, the game was supposed to start at 5. It didn't start until 9 on Monday. And against Southern Miss, opportunity in the first. Etzel singles to center field, and they just couldn't figure out Drew Bean. I mean, what a curveball, what a breaking ball this kid has. Strikes out the next 3 batters, Dickerson, Wilkes, and Sargent on 9 pitches. Now, so I'm one to say, what if? I'm a big what if guy. I don't think it changes the outcome of the game, but who knows if it changes the outcome of that at bat. So the first pitch to Dickerson was called a strike, and it looked like it fell in at his ankles. Like there was no way this was a strike. So instead of 1-0, it's 0-1, and he chases a fastball up and in. Now, I'll presume for the sake of this argument that on 1-0, he still comes in with up and in fastball, but maybe Dickerson is not swinging, and now it's 2-0. Who knows what happens then? I don't know if anything changes. But that at bat changed because I thought of a poorly called first pitch that didn't seem to be close to a strike. That doesn't change the fact that Drew Bean was really tough. All right, throws extremely hard, has an outstanding breaking ball. They laid off of it later on in the game, but by that time it may have been a little late. Meanwhile, Nico Mazza comes out in the first, and he mows Tennessee down, and it's a 0-0 ball game. We go to the second. Southern Miss gets a 2-out rally. Montesir with a single. Pato was hit by a pitch. He got runners on at first and second, and the guys, Roy Philpott and Todd Walker, continue to talk about Montenegro as the leading hitter on the team, and he flew out to left on an 0-1 pitch. And so they had their shots, right? You heard it throughout this year, throughout the postseason. I think we heard it through Scott Barry, and I certainly heard it through Matt Diggs with the Cajuns, that it's 2-out base hits, because 2-out base hits are so demoralizing, right? Especially if you get like an 0-2 pitch or something along those lines, or a 1-2 pitch that you come through in a clutch that the other team was so close to getting out of it and doesn't. And unfortunately, Southern Miss couldn't come up with that big base hit on Monday. And then, Tennessee just put one on the board. And this is, where we're going to combine segments. I guess Nico Mazza really battled, right? Gives up an infield base hit to Christian Moore, who beat it out barely. And Denton walked on a 3-2 pitch. And it's first and second. Then somehow, just Merritt, I guess he got jammed, just got it past Sargent at first base. Not very much because, with the wet turf, you could see it skidding into right field and no chance for a play at the plate, and it's 1-0. And this is where Tennessee could have blown the game open. Still got runners on at first and third. In a 1-0 Tennessee ball game, you can't think it can get too much more out of hand than that. And Mazza bear down, strikes out Burke. Scott fouls out, strikes out Stark. And it's 1-0. And you kind of feel like, all right, we're doing okay. We're still in this. And then they just couldn't do anything else. They got a 2-out base hit in the third. Mazza again battled in the third inning. In the fourth, they also had, again, this is 2 on and 1 out. And you couldn't get a run home. That was the problem. Montenegro again comes up with runners on at first and third and bounces out to second. He had 4 guys on base in his first 2 at-bats. 2 base hits is going to make a difference in this ballgame. And who knows how Tennessee goes. And maybe the bats get going. It takes 1 base hit to get going. We kind of saw that from Tennessee, right? What was it? Burke with his big home run, and they haven't stopped hitting since. And so Southern Miss comes up empty in the fourth, and basically the ball game put away in the fifth. And 1 bad pitch from Mazza, maybe 2, basically ends Southern Miss's season, right? He walks Ahuna, gets Ensley on a bunt, so it's runner on at second base, 1 out. Dickey flies out, and it's 2 outs and a man on at second base, and you get ahead of Moore, 1-2, and you plunk him. Very easily, you get him out, and it's still a 1-0 game, and then who knows what happens. Instead, Southern Miss had a shot in the 7th inning. Again, they got the first 2 guys on. Right? Pato and Montenegro are on first and second. Nobody out. Or, I'm sorry, 5-0 ball game, and that was the end of it. Really feel bad for Southern Miss. To Tennessee. That's impressive, right? All the pressure's on them. They're the SEC school. They have the pressure on them, and they came through. They lose the first game. They are down in the second game, and their bats came alive, and just a little bit more pitching than Southern Miss. So give it up to Tennessee for coming through in a tough situation. All right, let's take a timeout. All right, when we come back, let's talk Nico Mazza because he kept the team in the game. He kept Southern Miss in the ball game. But first, let me see if we got the FanDuel. Let's talk a little bit about FanDuel. And although the NBA season is over, this is where you want to go. You can still bet on baseball. You can still look at these NCAA futures. I got one here. This is amazing how this has happened because I've been on this for like over a year. Well, not over a year, but about a year, right? What's going to happen to Alabama this year? All right. Their over-under is 10.5. Right now, looking at it, FanDuel, 10.5. But it's minus 184. Like this thing started at about minus 120 or minus 140. You almost have to bet $200 on Alabama to go under 10.5 ball games. So eventually, if that does get to minus 200, the over-under is going to go down to 10. I need to get on it now. All right. Probably missed out on it earlier to get better odds, but I'm going to take the under on that. Also going to take the over on South Alabama. Something's missing there. The over-under is 8. And so, I mean, I think they're going to win 10 ball games minimum. Let me see if we can quickly find this out. No, I cannot. All right. Doesn't seem to be on here. But that is available. It is definitely, it should be, well, they don't have it on FanDuel yet, but it is 8 across the board. And so I'm going to take that over. We're looking at it right now for Alabama. It is minus 184. You can do almost all of the futures. Pick a national championship. I say dark horse because Caleb Williams is the favorite, and kind of shocking, Bo Nix is plus 1,200. He is second with Michael Penix Jr. Like, Caleb Williams is the favorite to win the Heisman, but Bo Nix is right there. So we'll see. I'm not a big fan of the Pac-12. I don't think they exist, but in this case, I may put my money on there. I'll probably rue the day that I do that, but that's a thing you can do. So you can check out the futures. Also, obviously, baseball every day. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon for your chance to sign up today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's see if we can get back to where we need to be. There we go. Nico Mazza, again, battle. I know his line is not going to show it because of the home run, but make no mistake about it. I think it's only 3 up and 3 down inning was the first. Is that right? Second, gave up a run. Third, 2 guys got on. He had first and second, and they don't score. In the 4th inning, gave up a base hit. And almost got out of it in the 5th. Did he come out? He came out for the 6th. But the pressure was obviously on Nico Mazza to give the bats a chance to get going, and he did that. All right, bats had a chance to get going in the 1st. Bats had a chance to get going in the 2nd. The bats had a chance to get going in the 3rd. I mean, I'm looking at Southern Miss. The first time that they were retired in order was in the 5th. As great as Drew Bean was throwing, the first time Southern Miss got retired in order was the 5th. They didn't get retired in order in the 6th. They had first and second in the 7th. In the 8th, they went down quietly. And in the 9th, they had a couple of runners on. But by that time, it was 5-0. I mean, even in the 7th, if it's 4-0, and, the top of the order comes up, you get 2 or 3 more base hits, you could be right back in the game. You get the tying run to the plate, now you feel like you have a shot. And I want to give it up for Nico Mazza because in a 5-0 ball game, it doesn't look great. And he does give up a 3-run home run to Denton after plunking Christian Moore. But, good job by Mazza to keep Southern Miss in the ball game. I mean, that's the way I look at it. The bats just didn't come through. Montenegro, a couple of chances. Dickerson couldn't move a runner over. They needed 2 out base hits, and they just didn't get them. And meanwhile, Mazza, at least through the first 4 innings, gave up just 1 run. Right, this game could have gotten away from Mazza and Southern Miss in the 2nd inning. They had a run home with 2 on and nobody out, and he doesn't give anything up. Yeah, going over again in the 3rd inning. First and second, nobody out, no runs. I mean, that's battling, right? In the 4th inning, gives up a 2-out single, but that's it. And again, he's as upset as he is, or anybody is going to be about that home run. It's going to be the Christian Moore at bat that just eats at Mazza all offseason, right? That's where it's going to hurt. That if I don't plunk Christian Moore and get out of that inning, who knows? Now, Southern Miss still hasn't scored a run, but you always feel like you're in it at 1-0, right? Anybody can get on, hit, walk, error, catcher's interference, hit by pitch, and 1 swing of the bat can tie things up. You always feel like you're in the game just down by 1. And unfortunately, he plunks Moore and gives up the home run to Denton, who, put a charge in it. So you give it up again to Tennessee, down a game, down 4-0, facing Tanner Hall, and, Tennessee turned it around, right? And Southern Miss's bats went quiet for the last game and a half. But I just wanted to I wanted to shout out to Nico Mazza because I thought he did exactly what Southern Miss needed, was zeros to begin the ball game. He does give up a run in the second inning, but basically that was it until the fifth inning. And, again, plunks more, Denton goes deep, and that was the ball game. That was basically the ball game. So I just want to make sure that people don't forget what Mazza did when, the Bats did nothing and Mazza kept the team in the ball game. All right, let's take one more time out. We'll talk about Scott Berry as we wrap things up on Locked On Sunbelt. All right, thanks again. It's been a wild ride. It would have been nice to have a Sunbelt team in the College World Series, and for a minute there on Sunday, it kind of looked like we were. But congratulations to Southern Miss in their ride. What a season it was for their first in the Sunbelt. But, Southern Miss, the Golden Eagles Nation, has, propelled this to a new heights. And literally the best week in the long and distinguished history of Locked On Sunbelt was because of Southern Miss. What can I tell you? So I appreciate their fans, appreciate them following. We'll start talking football. I'll get my buddy Will Hall on, and we'll go from there. But, again, thanks to everybody who's been following along. We will shift to football now. All right, that will be the focus. All right, we actually have Clay Helton from Georgia Southern on tomorrow's episode. So we're looking forward to that. Talks about starting quarterback and, the thrill of that App State game. Really was generous with his time. So we got Clay Helton on from Georgia Southern talking college football. But please, again, thank you for everybody who subscribed. Continue to do so. We're not going anywhere just because there's no sports. We'll continue with Locked On Sunbelt. Please follow it and share it on YouTube. Like it. And don't forget, we are wherever you get your audio podcasts, right? Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, iHeart, wherever you get your audio podcasts, just search Locked On Sunbelt. And again, if you see it socially, please share it. Please tell your friends and please subscribe. And if you're on an Apple Podcast, if you could please write a rate and review it, it would be a big help. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt. Want to, a hat tip the cap to Scott Berry. What a career. Going out on his terms. Relatively young, right? Nick Saban's closer to, let me see how old Nick Saban is. He's closer to 70, right? Nick Saban age. 71. So he'll turn 72 Halloween this year. He's 10 years older than Scott Berry, and Scott has decided he's had enough, right? Scott's 60. He's not even retirement age. I don't think he's going to, disappear into the woods and not be around. But he's been generous with his time on this show. He's come on a couple of times. It's been fantastic. Did not know, and certainly Roy Philpott and Todd Walker talking about the Emmy, did not realize he had won an Emmy. And, of course, when you win an award in something that you don't not necessarily excel in, but never thought you would do it, but he won an Emmy. So that's impressive. And just anything that you saw about Scott Berry was just all class. The former players, opposing team, it was good stuff. And I do want to congratulate Scott Berry for a tremendous career. I think Southern Miss is in good hands moving forward. The Sun Belt got 4 teams into the NCAA. Cajuns with a late push at the end of the season and into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. Gave them 4, right? Coastal hosted, didn't make it out of their own region. Southern Miss beats Auburn after losing the first game in that region. And Troy with, losing an awful way to Alabama and got bounced the next day. But, we'll see if Old Dominion bounces back. Texas State is always tough. The Sun Belt is in good hands. As a group of 5 schools, Sun Belt is in good hands, and they're going to miss Scott Berry. What a career. What was it? 12 years or so as an assistant, 14 as the head coach, was part of the staff when they went to Omaha, and it was almost full circle. It was a Corky Miller retired, and they went in 2009, and Scott Berry announced his retirement trying to do the same thing, and they got so close. So congratulations on a tremendous career. Scott Berry going out, as far as I'm concerned, on top. Think where, to just the idea of Southern Miss, hosting a super regional as of, a couple years ago was insane. And now Southern Miss has hosted back-to-back super regionals. Obviously disappointing that they didn't win one of them. But, whenever you're doing that in your Southern Miss, most likely, not necessarily, but most likely you're going to be matched up with, a Tennessee. And they got matched up with Ole Miss last year, who got hot and ends up winning up the whole thing. So, always a tough spot when that's the case. And just congratulations to Scott Berry. Tremendous career. Best of luck. Congratulations for setting Southern Miss up to be off to, good things in the future. All right, let's take, I want to say thank you again. Wanted to do a quick episode this morning. Again, we'll be back. We got, again, shockingly, Georgia Southern's Clay Helton on for tomorrow's show. We didn't know when he would be on. Recorded it last week and wanted to hold off until Southern Miss wrapped up. So, again, thanks so much for tuning in. Please continue to support the channel. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. You are watching and listening to Locked on Sunbelt, your team every day.